Hello there and welcome to this video where I will provide my predictions for the upcoming Indiana High School Football State Championships in the year 2024, taking place at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Thanksgiving weekend is upon us and I'm very much excited for it. I went 5 for 6 last year on predicting the winning teams. I have a feeling it's going to be difficult to replicate that, but I'll give it a shot. The shot could go straight in, maybe it spins out. We will find out soon enough. I'll admit my mistake if I pick the wrong team to win, but don't expect some profound apology from me if I choose incorrectly. And if I go 6 for 6, then I won't even need to cross that bridge. Anyways, as you probably knew before clicking on this video, there are 6 state championship games played at Lucas Oil Stadium. The 3 even-numbered class games on Friday, while the 3 odd-numbered are on Saturday. I'm going in chronological order, so let's get into the very first matchup. 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Black Friday, we got the Adams Central Flying Jets taking on the Linton-Stockton Miners. Both teams have made some state finals appearances, but those were in 1A. Linton won the 1A state championship in 2016, while Adams Central had played in the past 3 1A championships, but were unable to walk away as a victor in any of them, as the Lutheran Saints prevailed in all 3 years. But let's talk about this year. Adams Central started off the season with a massive test, taking on Garrett Railroaders. Garrett proved to be the stronger team in that second quarter and handed Adams Central a loss. But it's been their only loss throughout the season. Garrett is a tough team to beat, so I can't fault the Jets by any significant degree. But I wish Adams Central would have scheduled tougher teams in the regular season. Their best win in the regular season was Heritage Patriots on the road. Heritage is a decent 3A school, but that's about it. Before we get to Adams Central's semi-state match, not much stands out on the resume. One could say beating South Adams, beating Bluffton twice, maybe Eastern Comets, but I don't put much significance on that. When talking about the semi-state, that's when things are put to the test. Adams Central defeated the Andrean Fighting 59ers with a 7-point victory. By scoring 3 touchdowns, they passed the test to get to this 2A state championship. Let's talk about the Miners of Linton-Stockton now. Just like Adams Central, their season opener was a loss. They got blown out to Marion Local 45-6. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, who the heck is Marion Local? Because trust me, I thought the same thing when I saw that score. Turns out Marion Local is a Western Ohio school with a 14-0 record, and they're easily a top 20 football school within the Buckeye State. So that loss makes a ton of sense for Linton-Stockton. I mean, the very next week, Linton-Stockton got a nice win against Monrovia. 3 weeks after that, Linton-Stockton suffered another loss on the season when they played Boonville on the road. That loss is concerning as Boonville is a below-average team in 4A. But life goes on, and the Miners have certainly improved since that game. They picked up 3 solid wins in the month of November, took care of business against South Vermilion, squeezed by against Brownstown Central, who's a strong contender. Then immediately after, in the semi-state, another super strong contender awaited them, the Indianapolis Lutheran Saints. Adams Central has been incapable of beating Indy Lutheran in the postseason these past 3 years, but Linton-Stockton proved it was possible, eviscerating Lutheran's quest to win 4 consecutive state championships with a 40-28 win. Honestly, that came as a bit of a surprise, as it seemed like we were going to watch Indy Lutheran and Adams Central compete for a 4th time at Lucas Oil. But credit goes to the Miners, especially number 13 Paul Oliver, who scored 4 touchdowns against Lutheran, 18 carries for 98 yards on the ground, 3 rushing touchdowns, as well as 6 catches for 157 yards and 1 receiving touchdown. That's remarkable. You have my attention, Mr. Oliver. So when it comes to predicting the winner of this 2A game, it's obvious Linton-Stockton has the momentum and better quality wins, so I'm going with them. I think it will be somewhat close, as Adams Central has a strong running game with Matt Heiser on their roster, but give me the Miners to win 35-20, and I'm also predicting Paul Oliver to score a touchdown in each half. Now we can discuss the 4A championship, as East Noble Knights will face New Palestine Dragons. Each team has 13 wins, and depending on how you look at it, they each have a game in which they didn't win. We'll get into that. East Noble's only loss was back in August against Fort Wayne Snyder, who won the 5A title last year. East Noble got shut out in that second half, but Snyder is a strong and well-coached team, so I'm not surprised the Knights lost that one. But the Knights learned from that game and continue to put W's on their schedule. Leo Lions are a solid team, but East Noble beat them by 6 on the road, and again in the postseason with 21-0 shutout. Next week, 38-0 smackdown against Fort Wayne Bishop Dwenger, which I consider to be their most impressive result so far. Semi-state, East Noble defeats Mishawaka 18-13. There were 5 touchdowns, but it's strange how only the first one resulted in a made PAT. The last 3 touchdowns all consisted of failed 2-point conversions after the 6 points were scored, and 2 of East Noble's 3 touchdowns in the semi-state were from their QB Riley Biddle, who ran it from 1 yard and from 5 yards out respectively. Now we can talk about New Palestine. New Palestine has accrued 13 wins on the year, but on Friday, August 30th, they were scheduled to play Decatur Central and didn't win. Trailing 7-0 at the end of the first quarter, Dragons scored 3 touchdowns, leading to a 21-21 halftime score. Unfortunately for everyone involved, lightning struck the area and continued to do so. The game was postponed to the following morning on Saturday, but once Saturday rolled around, the second half was canceled for whatever reason. Neither team won and each scored 21 points, so I consider that to be a tie, although I'm sure there are plenty of people who think that game should be written out of existence. But please comment below what your stance is on 21-all at halftime with no second half being played. Should it be recorded as a tie, half of a tie since it's only half of a game, no result at all? Let me know. But in my book, this tie doesn't reflect poorly on either team's resume. Both teams will be playing at Lucas Oil Stadium this weekend. New Pal for 4A, Decatur Central for 5A, which is later on in this video. Anyways, enough about that lightning situation. New Pal beat some decent ball clubs throughout the month of September against Yorktown, Mount Vernon, Pendleton Heights, and Greenfield Central. I'm just going to skip ahead to their most impressive win of the season, an overtime victory against Indianapolis Bishop Chatard. Bishop Chatard has won 2 straight state championships and were on pace to win a third until New Pal pulled off the upset. The Dragons' star running back, Josh Raines, averaged over 10 yards per carry, and he was the one who scored the winning touchdown in overtime against Bishop Chatard. Next game for New Pal was the semi-state, and I'm not going to lie, Martinsville have accomplished a lot this season, but they aren't on Bishop Chatard's level, which means it was a fairly easy victory for New Pal to punch their ticket to Lucas Oil Stadium. When evaluating these teams, it's clear that East Noble have had a few more quality wins, like Bishop Dwenger, like Leo, like Columbia City, who I haven't mentioned yet, but I can't ignore the fact that Bishop Chatard is the signature win for New Palestine. In my opinion, this signature win outshines everything else that has happened. Yeah, it was a gritty overtime win, and that's what I expect to see at a New Palestine Friday night. A gritty win against a really good East Noble team. I'll predict New Palestine to win with a final score of 34-27. Also predicting Josh Raines will have over 125 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. That brings us to the final game on Black Friday, the 6A state championship, Westfield Shamrocks versus Brownsburg Bulldogs. Both teams have a 12-1 record, and both are about 20 miles away from Lucas Oil Stadium. Let's talk about the Shamrocks, who started off the season with an excellent win on the road against Center Grove. Those 4 touchdowns in the second quarter were instrumental to their success. A month later, Westfield got another impressive win on their resume by defeating Hamilton Southeastern in overtime. Well done. But the next week is extremely important as Westfield played Brownsburg, as in the same Brownsburg that they're facing for the 6A championship. These teams have already played on September 28th, and the result? A 4-point loss for Westfield, as Brownsburg defense held Westfield to a single touchdown, which is the only team to do so this season. That head-to-head game is worth remembering. Moving on, Westfield got 2 quality wins by beating the Fishers Tigers twice, once in the regular season by 34 points, once in the postseason by 14. Fishers' other losses this season were in the single digits, so good job Westfield for solidifying the margin. Then, Westfield got a massive win in the semi-state against the Crown Point Bulldogs, 30-7. Crown Point has scored at least 35 points in all of their games leading up to the semi-state. Excellent performance all around from the Shamrocks last Friday. That goes for defense, offense, and special teams. Now we can go over what Brownsburg has accomplished. Last day of August, they got a big-time road win against Cathedral and were in control for nearly the whole game. 3 weeks later, they faced Fishers and won by a single point, 31-30. Sophomore receiver Brandon Sharp had 9 catches for 128 yards and a touchdown in that game against Fishers. He's got talent, I have no doubt of that. The very next week after Fishers was that 17-13 win against Westfield, which we discussed. That was the only game this season in which Brownsburg scored under 20 points. On October 18th, Brownsburg suffered a loss on the road to Hamilton Southeastern. Hamilton Southeastern was fired right off the jump, scoring 20 points in the first half while shutting out Brownsburg. The Bulldogs actually tied it up 23-0 in the fourth quarter, but the final game-winning touchdown was from the subsequent kickoff return right after Brownsburg tied it up. Oof, that's a tough way to lose, but I respect it. Brownsburg has found ways to win in this postseason. Biggest win for them was on November 15th against Lawrence North. The Wildcats were in prime position to win this whole tournament. They were in the lead for most of the second half, but Brownsburg scored their third touchdown to make it 21-20. They didn't want to play overtime. They wanted to win in regulation. Joshua Stevens ran it in like a boss. Here's that video. Beating Lawrence North gave them a spot in the semi-state against Center Grove. Center Grove knows how to get to Lucas Oil Stadium, but the Bulldogs would not be denied. Joshua Stevens accounted for 2 of the 3 rushing touchdowns, and Brandon Sharp with a receiving touchdown. So obviously both of these teams are incredibly talented. Safe to say Lawrence North and these two make up the top 3 high school football teams in Indiana. But in my mind, and the minds of many others, Brownsburg is number 1. They beat Westfield by 4 in late September, and I expect them to win again by 1 possession. I'm predicting Brownsburg wins with a score 21-17. I'll also predict Joshua Stevens with a rushing touchdown. Okay, on top of that, I'll predict Avon Robinson will score on a receiving touchdown for Brownsburg. Let's have some fun. So that will conclude my Black Friday predictions. We move on to the Saturday games. To keep it 100 with y'all, I'm going to have to shorten some assessments and some visuals so that this video can get uploaded in time. Sorry about that. Okay, so on to the 1A championship. We got North Judson St. Pierre Blue Jays versus the Providence Pioneers. Both teams are undefeated and looking to win their first ever state championship in football. North Judson St. Pierre start off this season with a brilliant victory against Knox 42-21. It's easily the best win of the season for the Blue Jays, as Knox is a good team in 3A. Another opponent North Judson defeated was North Miami in mid-September. Except they didn't just defeat North Miami, North Judson St. Pierre curb stomped North Miami 46-0, bro. Their most recent opponents suffer the same fate. 46-0, eliminating South Adams in the semi-state match this past Friday. South Adams isn't a good team in my opinion, but destroying the Starfires that badly is sending a statement as they head into Lucas Oil Saturday morning. North Judson has played 14 games so far, but those 3 games are the only ones worth talking about. The other 11 are cupcakes in my opinion. You know, like easy victories because their opponents simply don't have the guys to compete with North Judson St. Pierre or any good football team for that matter. I really wish there were stronger opponents on the Blue Jays schedule to evaluate, but that's not reality. So to reiterate, Blue Jays have beaten a notable Knox team as well as 46-0 shutouts against North Miami and South Adams. Let's talk about Providence. I don't believe they have a win as impressive as the one against Knox, but they got more quality opponents within the season that I can mention. First Friday in October, Providence traveled to Milan and beat the Indians 35-21. Then, 2 weeks later, another quality win on the road against North Harrison, shutting them out 24-0. The following week, the Pioneers eliminated Springs Valley. Friday, November 15th, Providence beat Milan a second time by a larger margin. That win propelled them to the semi-state match where they faced a tough South Putnam squad. The Eagles scored 30 points, but it was the Providence defense that won them that game. They intercepted Wyatt Mullen 3 times that night. One of those was a pick 6 in the third quarter, and the final interception was in the final minute, as South Putnam was marching in opponent territory. Number 15, Wyatt Small, gets credit for that game-sealing interception to get Providence to the state championship. So when evaluating these teams, it's apparent that North Judson St. Pierre has looked much more dominant by scoring on average 54 points a game and holding their opponents to 7 points on average. Providence averages 33 points per game and holds opponents to just under 12 points on average. Is North Judson ready for Providence though? The last time North Judson played a real good team was August 23rd against Knox. The Blue Jays haven't been tested much since then, but any test they were given, they aced. If these two teams flipped schedules this season, more than likely, they'd still be undefeated, the both of them. Providence might have lost to Knox, but no one else. Would Providence have beaten North Miami and South Adams by a 46-0 final score? No, I don't believe that. I think the score probably would have been 35-7. I have noticed a trend when it comes to Indiana high school football. If you win your semi-state match by a large shutout, you're probably going to win the state championship the following week. Just last year, Fort Wayne Snyder and East Central each won their state championship game after getting an impressive shutout win in the semi-state. A part of me wants to ignore the shutout semi-state trend and pick Providence. And you know what? That's exactly what I'm going to do. I originally had North Judson in my notes as the winner of this, but I trust the Pioneers just a little more. Yes, I'm aware that there are 3 North Judson players who have over 1,000 rushing yards this season, but I have a feeling Preston Kemp will be the MVP of this game and lead Providence to victory. Prediction: Preston Kemp will throw for a touchdown and run for a touchdown. My score prediction is 21-20. Providence has to win the turnover battle, and I believe they will. As for North Judson, I'm predicting Cole Wilcox will have over 100 rushing yards in this championship and at least 1 touchdown. He's very talented. This will be the championship that I'm looking forward to watching the most. Now we have the penultimate state championship. The 3A matchup is Heritage Hills Patriots will face Fort Wayne Bishop Luers. Both these teams played Thanksgiving weekend last year. Heritage Hills lost in 3A to Bishop Chatard 35-7, whereas Bishop Luers won in 2A to North Posey 40-3. Now the Knights have been upgraded to Class 3A. Heritage Hills got a sweet win to start the season, 43-14 against Southridge. That gets a thumbs up. Next week, however, Heritage Hills traveled to the Bluegrass State and played the Centurions of Christian Academy Louisville and lost 35-7. Not a good way to lose, in my opinion, but Christian Academy of Louisville is definitely a top 20 football team within the state of Kentucky, so there are much worse teams to lose to. Last Friday of September, the Patriots got a 28-0 victory over Gibson Southern. A month later, Gibson lost again to Heritage Hills, this time 35-18. That's 2 quality wins right there. On November 8th, easily without a doubt, the best win of the season occurred. Upset victory over Evansville Memorial, winning 38-24. I fully expected Evansville Memorial to advance and probably win the whole thing, but nope. Heritage Hills quarterback Jet Goldsberry threw for 106 yards and 2 passing touchdowns in that game. Goldsberry also ran for 197 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. That's remarkable, especially against that Tigers defense. The journey continues for Heritage Hills as they defeated Batesville in stellar fashion to reach the state finals, 42-0 shutout victory. Meanwhile, the Knights of Bishop Luers have had an eventful season. Started the season with a 2017 loss to the Leo Lions. Late September, Bishop Luers defeated a solid ball club with a 10-8 win over Fort Wayne Northside. The next 3 weeks for the Knights were disappointing, to put it mildly. Loss to Bishop Dwenger makes sense since they're right on Bishop Luers level. Same could be said for Homestead, who's a pretty good team, but that second loss within that 3-week span is atrocious. It appears Bishop Luers was getting too complacent, up 7-0 at halftime, and Fort Wayne Southside snuck up on them late for a major upset. Southside has no business beating Bishop Luers, yet they did. What a pity. The Knights' best win of the season in the semi-state, defeating the Garrett Railroaders 28-14. Derry A. Williams had 183 rushing yards on 27 carries, including 3 touchdowns. So when evaluating these 2 teams, Heritage Hills is the better team on paper. They beat Evansville Memorial, only lost once to a terrific out-of-state team, and have a talented quarterback who can make plays consistently. The fact that Bishop Luers lost to a mediocre at best Southside team makes me want to not even consider picking them. But then I think back to last year, how I chose North Posey to win against Bishop Luers, and Luers demolished the Vikings 40-3. The only game I predicted the incorrect winner was Bishop Luers' game. I don't want that to repeat, as it seems clear that Bishop Luers is the type of team who turns it up to another level once the playoffs start. Beating Garrett was really good for them, so that makes me want to pick Bishop Luers this time around. So I'm going to pick Heritage Hills to win because they have Jet Goldsberry at QB and they beat Batesville 42-0 in semi-state. I ignored the shutout trend when choosing my 1A winner, but I don't think I can ignore it a second time. If I get this wrong, the Bishop Luers fans will be sure to let me know about my mistake, and I will 100% deserve it. Prove me wrong, Bishop Luers. I do not mind being proven wrong, especially in this instance. This is still going to be a close game. Heritage Hills 24, Bishop Luers 21. I'll also predict Jet Goldsberry will throw for a touchdown, run for a touchdown, and throw 0 interceptions. And finally, here we are for the last prediction, the 5A state championship. Decatur Central Hawks versus the Warsaw Tigers. Both these teams have exactly 10 wins on the season and more than 1 loss. We can start with Decatur Central Hawks, who reached the 5A championship in 2023 only to lose 33-6 to Fort Wayne Steiner. They're obviously seeking redemption and improvement from last year's result. Started off with the season with a loss to Columbus North. We already discussed that lightning first half tie with New Pal early in the video, so I'll skip that one. Then lost to Martinsville by 1 point. Every once in a while, Martinsville plays extraordinary, so not great for the Hawks, but understandable. Winning 42-21 to Plainfield is a great win, so great that Decatur Central had to do it again in the postseason. Then a wonderful win in the regional against East Central, eliminating those Trojans who were looking to win 3 straight titles. Semi-state beating Bloomington South 27-13 is pretty darn good. Warsaw didn't start on the best of notes, losing 3 of the first 6 games. Losing to Warren Central makes sense because it's Warren Central. Like, they're easily top 10 team in 6A. But losing to Plymouth is just baffling to me. Plymouth is the cafe you go to eat to when you're visiting Holiday World. It's not the football team you lose to when you're a serious 5A contender. But I digress. The Plymouth loss was the wake-up call for these Tigers. They beat Mishawaka, Concord, Lafayette Jefferson, and the Maryville Pirates in the semi-state. All really solid wins. Eliminating Concord is probably the most impressive out of those. As I mentioned, Decatur Central has been here before, just a year ago. We're going to find out if Decatur Central has improved from last year and are ready to seize this stage. The Hawks scored 6 points last year in the 5A title. They could squander this opportunity and be runner-ups like before, or they can man up, score some touchdowns, and take the trophy home. I might regret this, but I believe they've learned from last year. They know how it feels and won't allow the past to repeat itself. Unlike last year, Bo Polston will throw a touchdown pass. Unlike last year, Impo Dodo will run it in for a touchdown. This is the year to do it, Decatur. I'm predicting the Hawks win 21-13. Am I underestimating the Tigers here? Maybe so, but they've never played for a football state championship, and their inexperience will prove to be a factor in this. Plus, there's nothing too substantial on the resume to persuade me in the direction over Decatur Central's accomplishments. So to recap, in 2A, I have Linton-Stockton winning 35-20. In 4A, I chose New Palestine to win 34-27. In 6A, I'm predicting Brownsburg Bulldogs to win 21-17. For the Saturday slate, my prediction has Providence winning 1A 21-20. For 3A, my prediction is Heritage Hills with a score 24-21. And finally, Decatur Central will emerge victorious with a score 21-13. Please comment below your predictions if it's not too late, or which team you're rooting for. If you're a Warsaw Tigers fan, you can comment that below. Let's get some comments rolling, please. You can tell me how dumb I was after the fact when I get one of these predictions terribly wrong. I'm having fun regardless. I still plan on making a follow-up video to recap these state championships and address the accuracy of all my predictions. Don't expect that to be released immediately after the fact. It'll take some time to properly put together. Don't forget to enjoy your Thanksgiving weekend on your way out, and I hope to see you next time.